Okay, good afternoon, everybody. We're getting ready to get started here. Wanted to wait till 12:05 to give everyone a chance to get on. This is John Torello. With me in the room is Nicole and Mark. We're going to present the cloud email program to everyone and give everyone an overview and get into some specifics and allow you to ask questions at the end. Real quick, just a quick housekeeping item. If you have questions anytime throughout the presentation, please chat them, and we'll hold them till the end of the presentation. We've got Pam Gould here. She's our official question taker and moderator of questions. Okay, with that, we'll get started. Just want to start off with saying this is a project I know that's been out there for quite some time. We've been talking about cloud email for certainly before I got here, was my understanding. We're ready to go. We're finally ready to get this moving along. We're excited about this. We're ready to do our IS cutover tonight into tomorrow morning. So by tomorrow, all of the IS team will be on cloud email. And then we'll, once we get all the bugs out of that, we'll be getting ready to roll for the rest of the system later in October. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. Okay. So just to start off and give a quick overview, I think everyone knows by now we're transitioning from our on-premise email system, our Exchange servers on-premise, to Microsoft's cloud-hosted email. We're doing that for a few different reasons. One of the reasons, which is a sort of a drop-dead date, is the version of Exchange that we're on is no longer going to be supported by Microsoft after January 2020. So that's something that we're trying to avoid is remaining on the system after that. But there's a bunch of benefits to cloud email. So one of them is certainly we'll have a more stable and resilient platform. We'll have larger email box storage for each individual user, much more than we've had in the past. The new version that we're going to, Outlook Web Access, is more fully featured, much like the full client. So folks that want to use Outlook Web Access will have a better experience, a richer experience. And this ultimately gives us more flexible access to email and files from anywhere without having to get onto the network in the traditional means that you may have had to do. From a cost perspective, cloud email gives us a more predictable cost model. As you all know, we're trying to manage costs better throughout the system, and this gets us away from having to make large capital investments every few years to add new, faster servers, more storage. All this is done on an OpEx basis going forward. So how will this impact each of you? And the impacts will be a little bit different depending on how you use email. For folks that use OWA today, you'll be largely not impacted. The OWA functionality, like I said, will be very similar to what you're already using. When we do the migrations tonight, access to OWA, or access to email through OWA, I should say, will be immediate. So you can start using OWA first thing in the morning. I'll get into the differences between tomorrow morning, the OWA access versus the full client access. For all of us that use mobile phones, and I believe that's most, if not all of us, there is some configuration that needs to be done. We'll get into that in a little bit. It's fairly straightforward, but you will need to configure your phone for mobile access to the new email system. For full client users, so those of us that have desktop and laptop devices, there's an automated process that'll be running tonight into tomorrow that will pre-configure your device so that you'll be ready to roll in the morning to log into the new Outlook access. We'll talk a little bit about that. The bullet about managed versus unmanaged. So we're all on managed devices, or I should say most of us should be on managed devices. For users throughout the system that are on unmanaged devices, so this might be folks that have devices that were purchased through grants or through some other process and the devices are not managed by IT, there will be a process to configure those devices manually. We'll have instructions on how to do that. So just be aware, from a support perspective, there is a difference between a managed device, which the process will run automatically on, versus an unmanaged device. And we'll see a lot of these in the professional schools where configuration is manual. It's important to note that using the full client, for those of us who choose to use the full client going forward, depending on the size of our mailboxes, our inboxes, when we do the conversion or this cut over overnight, the email now needs to download from the cloud back to your full client on your device. Depending on the size of your mailbox, that may take a period of hours. It could take a period of days in some cases. So just be aware that that process will take some time, and you may not have all of your email downloaded to your client on day one. So one of the things that we want to recommend for all of us, as well as we go forward and work with our customers as we roll out the rest of across the system, we want to recommend that people use OWA because you'll have everything immediately in OWA. And then once you get cut over overnight, you'll get a notification in your inbox that the migration has occurred. So tomorrow morning, all of us, and as we go forward and migrate all of our other users to the system, we will see a message in our inbox that says you've been migrated and log into the new system. Other things to be aware of in terms of impact, we have a new email domain. We are on a separate tenant in Microsoft's cloud. And when you log in for the first time, you'll be using your username at health.ucsd.edu. That's the format that you'll use. When you receive email from others, they can still email you at your username at ucsd.edu, just like you do today. That will continue to work. But when you send emails out from your inbox, the recipients of those emails will see the email coming from username at health.ucsd.edu. So that is our new domain. You can still accept emails the old way as well as the new way. But when we send emails out, people will see them from health.ucsd.edu. For those of us that have emails with large attachments, and the large attachments we're referring to as are over 100 megabytes, that will require user action to get those emails, those attachments saved. And we'll have instructions on how to do that. Notifications will be sent to any user that has email or emails that have those attachments that are more than 100 megabytes. That could be one attachment, it could be several attachments, but if it's over 100 meg, you'll see a message that talks to you about which emails those are. It'll denote the subject line of those emails, and you'll need to follow the instructions on how to deal with those. Here's the high-level schedule for the rollout by weeks. So tomorrow, all of us will be going along with some folks in the facilities engineering department, as well as a subgroup of MedEd, that's Dr. Lander's team. That will all happen overnight tonight into tomorrow. The week of the 7th, we'll be sending out more communications, as well as more communications the week of the 14th and command center setups. We'll start the next big wave of migrations the week of October 21st. Followed by subsequent weeks, the 28th, and then the 4th will be moving over to the professional schools, the health sciences side, and then all the way through November 18th. So this will be maybe not quite a big bang, but we're definitely condensing the schedule and looking to do everything through the months of October and November. Please note that if the Joint Commission conducts a visit anytime during our migrations, we will pause for that particular week. So it's quite possible we could get a visit from the Joint Commission. Looks like it's not going to happen this week, but it could happen next week or the week after. We will pause the migration for that particular week until the Joint Commission is finished, and then we'll resume again. We'll certainly let everybody know if that happens, when that happens. As far as training and support goes, there will be a bunch of different ways we'll be supporting this migration, this project. We will have a support center type locations at wherever we are migrating users. We'll have support centers at those locations. We'll have a command center, and then we'll have dispatch centers, what we're calling cloud bar centers, as well as blue shirt roaming support. So we'll have folks walking around available to answer questions and assist people with tip sheets, or direct them to more technical support if that's required. There are a number of documents and tip sheets already located online. So you can go to cloudemail.ucsd.edu for all related documents. There's a bunch of documents up there around configuration of smartphones. There'll be frequently asked questions that'll continually be growing up there. So everything that we have in document form will be in that location. And obviously, we're looking to use our IS department to assist with roaming support once we're all migrated. We've got all user communications that have gone out, and then we'll have continued communications going out starting this week and up until the migrations happen on 10/20/2022 is when the actual next migrations will start. Okay, so we're going to be all migrating tomorrow. I'm going to hand over the mic, so to speak, to Mark Silvestrak. He's going to talk a little bit about the specifics of the tip sheets, and we'll go from there. Go ahead, Mark.
Thank you, John. This is Mark Silvestrak. I think we already stated tomorrow is the migration day. So when everyone comes in tomorrow, it's going to be a new and improved you, I suppose. Let's go ahead and just jump right to it. This can't be overstated, so we're mentioning it again. I'm also going to share the email address for you. I'm going to highlight something that's slightly different than a previous email or previous address. OWA for the Outlook on the web is going to be available immediately. So at any given time, someone can go to the web email address and access their email immediately. There's no syncing you have to worry about or anything. The address, as you can see right here, is hsemail.ucsd.edu. For those who are familiar with the OWA, the current state, it is hsmail, so there's a slight difference. You need to be aware of this. The hsmail will be used later on, but right now we have to make a distinction between the two. So the O365 version is going to be HS email. So make sure you've got that marked down on your browser, because you will have access to that immediately once the migration has occurred and you come in tomorrow. All right, next slide. So tip sheets, John had alluded to earlier. This is a screenshot, more or less, of the tip sheet. There's a front and a back, but this is like the front side, I guess. This is going to be placed at everyone's desk shortly after this presentation, so you should see this at your desk. Someone's going to be handing this to you today. You will have this in your hands, and it's fairly straightforward. A couple of things I do want to point out on here. We do talk about visiting the cloud email. Again, John referenced this earlier. This will have FAQs. It'll have some of the tip sheets on there for you as well. You'll be able to access this. You can access it now, frankly, but it's organic. It's still growing, and we're adding to this as we go. And in fact, after this migration, I'm sure it'll take a new form of sorts with lessons that we've learned from this. So please give us whatever feedback you can. Talked about cloud email via the web. It's also on here. I won't go into that anymore. We have documentation or instructions on cloud email on Apple or an Android device. One of the things I do want to point out for the Android and or for the Apple devices is that you have to be really careful. If you are a user of the native client on the device, you will have to follow some instructions. You'll get some instructions in an email, and we'll also have the instructions on the website regarding how to handle your contacts. I can't stress this enough. I personally use the native app on my iPhone. I've started using the Outlook client itself. I do think it is a better tool for us, and so the recommendation is everyone move to it. If you use a native app, you need to be aware there are some measures you'll need to take in order for you to save your contacts so you don't lose your contacts. Again, we'll have more detail and instruction on that on the website, but you need to be aware of that, okay? Again, this is sort of the backside or another part of the tip sheet going into cloud email on a Mac. I won't go through these instructions. I'm not going to take up your time with that right now. But again, just to re-stress one more time, cloud email on the PC, if you want to, when you access it for the first time, and when you log in, the suggestion is going to be that everyone is logged out. So when you come in, you're starting anew, you're logging back in, you're starting up your device. You'll be prompted to log in when you open up your Outlook client. You will use your username at health.ucsd.edu to log in, and the sync process will begin. you can always go to hsemail.ucsd.edu during this process, and you'll have access to all of your email. So again, want to be very clear on that. You will never be in a position where you shouldn't be able to access your email. You just might have to access it via the web. We don't know how long the sync process will take. It's dependent on a lot of factors. We just don't know. So it could take some time, but you will have access to your email. And again, always go to cloudemail.ucsd.edu for any additional tips. If you are working remotely, we know several of you are, for tomorrow, you must be on VPN, and you'll need to launch the email migration tool manually. Don't freak out about it, you guys. I've actually seen this process. It's fairly straightforward. I'm not going to get into the details right now, but this will be an easy process for everyone. Follow some instructions. You will be given some email. You'll get an email with full instructions later on today on that process. All right? That's it.
Okay, hey, this is Nicole May. I want to talk a little bit about IS support for the major Big Bang rollout. So everyone in IS is going to be basically part of the Blue Shirt roaming customer support service. And the rationale for this is one, this is one of the rare moments in IS where we're launching a project that affects just about everybody. And it's a great customer service opportunity for us, first of all, to be out there talking to folks, getting feedback and helping them. Also, this is really critical, right? Everyone considers email to be almost like air. It has to work, it has to be there, we must have it. And so it's very important that with this project, even if things go awry or the customer or user is having trouble, we are right there at the elbow and they know that they have the support of IS. And of course, we have 17,000 people migrating, and it's just too many for the service desk or the field techs to handle. So it's all hands on deck. Every single person in IS is going to be asked to lend a hand for this rollout. So instructions about the rollout and how you can sign up will be coming later this week. A Sign Up Genius will be available. The opportunities for support will be many. Most of it will be in the field with Blue Shirt support in the buildings, working as part of the tech team. We're going to have tiered support. So the tech team will handle questions that are beyond the capabilities of just the everyday person in IS. But that tip sheet you just saw, we're expecting that everybody in IS could at least help the customer walk through that tip sheet. And if it gets beyond the tip sheet level, show the customer how they can find additional service. So there will be many opportunities to participate in that way. We also need help setting up command centers. We're not doing a command center. We're doing multiple command centers and cloud bars at many locations. So setting those up is going to be an effort we need help with, along with communication distribution, handing out tip sheets, putting up flyers, talking to people. Those are the things that you can help with for sure. So again, because everybody will be expected to be out in the field, the work from home program, of course, will be reduced a little bit or modified to ensure that we can have full support for the 4 weeks of the rollout. We're giving you a heads up now because we know that that affects people's schedules and their routines, and we want you to know that during that Big Bang period, you will be asked to be on site, okay? More information will come about that, again, as we send out the Sign Up Genius and you sign up for events on specific days, you will know more about what your schedule will look like. But Chris isn't here today, but he wanted to just emphasize that the work from home program is something that we're voluntarily doing here in IS, but it's not something that we expect all the time. We know that when we set that up, it meant that for major go lives, we may have to come back on site, okay? And then the last thing to note is that this is not the end of it. So we're not gonna leave you hanging. There's an additional all hands coming up on 10/14, and we are going to spend additional time with you distributing Blue Shirts, giving you additional tips, giving you information about how you can participate in support of the client in the best way. All right, once again, here's the rollout schedule. Now that you know that we're going to be asking you to volunteer, we do want you to make note of the schedule. So again, in the next couple of weeks, we do need people to help us with communication and setting up command centers. But between October 21st and the entirety of the week of November 18th, that is when we're doing the rollout during those 4 weeks. And that is when work from home might look a little different. Okay.
Yeah, just to wrap up, and thank you, Nicole. So I think getting everyone on board to help out with this is really going to be crucial. I think this is a great opportunity, as Nicole mentioned earlier in the presentation, to really re-engage, continue to engage, maybe even meet some new customers that we haven't met yet. So we're asking all of you, particularly to engage with your customer base. It's great on projects like this for customers to be able to see a face or a team that they are comfortable with and understand, as opposed to someone that they've never seen before. So it is a good opportunity for us to ease their concerns and fears and help them out. We don't expect that everyone in IS is going to be a technical expert on cloud email, but most of the questions, as you saw when we went through some of the tip sheets, a lot of the questions are going to be pretty basic. We expect people are going to make common mistakes, basic mistakes, and they're going to need some guidance through that. So I want to thank everyone in advance. I know this is a huge undertaking. It's a big project. It's, as Nicole said, this is one of few projects that will touch every user in the organization. And the success of it is really going to depend on all of us helping each other out, reaching out to our customer base, and offering as much assistance, and also socializing this. We've got a few weeks now before we're going to cut over everybody on the hospital side and the health sciences side. As you're in settings with your customers, please socialize this activity and let people know that we're going to be there to help them in droves. So thank you all for participating. We all appreciate it. I know you can speak for Mark and Nicole and everybody on the IS team that's been on the project team. We really appreciate your efforts on this. Yep. So I'm going to turn it over to questions unless Mark or Nicole have any other comments.
No, I agree with everything.
All right, so Pam's going to read us the comments. It looks like there may be a bunch.
Yeah, some good questions. I've consolidated some of them, but the first one here is, does this change how our UCI folks Skype us?
I'm going to say it should not, but I don't know the nuances of that question, so we'll have to look into that one. It's a good question, but I would say probably not.
Okay. Second one, will emails be created on the Health Exchange for campus employees working on health projects?
Emails created on the Health Exchange.
Campus employees on the health.
I don't know if I understand the question.
Yeah, I don't. Whoever asked that question, if you can provide some more specifics, we'll try to get back to it, because I'm not sure we understand that question.
Okay. And then there's a question, how long will the ucsd.edu address work for old mail without the health? And if user emails us using the old email, will it look differently for us receiving the email?
So the ucsd.edu will be able to receive emails at that address forever, conceivably. I shouldn't say forever, but there's no intent of making that go away. It's interesting to note, though, that when you use that email address, the path that email travels is a little bit more complicated because we're still connecting to the campus system at that point. But it will work. And what was the second half of the question, Ben? I'm sorry.
The second half was, if a user emails us using the old email, will it look differently for us receiving?
It should not look different. I thought there was a part about sending email onto that question. Is that the same?
I think it was just how long will the UCSD address work for old email without the health in it?
Yep, that will continue to work.
Yeah, and there was also, related to that question, a suggestion that we update our signature lines with the new email address.
No, that's something that we have decided not to do. We still want to keep our signature lines as ucsd.edu.
Okay. Okay, great.
We may change that in the future. We may start a campaign to do something like that, but I think for now. Because a similar question that came up in other venues was things about, like, do we change the email address on our business cards, as an example, right? So things like that.
Okay. All right, next question, Zoom meeting plugin integration. Will this still be seamless in the client? And the Zoom email plugin, will that be pre-installed in the online version?
That sounds like a Dean question.
Yeah.
Zoom, I guess Zoom functionality.
The
is
Zoom,
how
the plugin, it should, yeah, it's still all the same. It should be transparent.
Okay,
I mean, we just to be clear, we've had half of IS that has migrated already. They've been using the Zoom client. They've been doing everything with the O365 calendaring as well. So we've been through that.
Good point.
Good
okay,
questions.
all right. There's a question about VPN, UCSD or the UCSD Health VPN, and is the campus VPN okay or changing?
I'm not sure
We'll
I know
have
the answer. Yeah.
instructions sent out that you can follow that would clearly articulate that.
Yeah, my guess is the importance is that you are VPNing into our network, period,
Correct.
whatever that is, whatever method you use.
I would agree with that.
Okay. And how early can we begin the email migration process on our office computer?
So the way this will work is sometime overnight tonight. I believe it'll be around midnight, between midnight and 1 a.m. The process will start. The process will take probably 2 to 3 hours. So we believe that sometime around 3 a.m.-ish, everything should be ready to go for our user base to start doing what they need to do.
But that's a rough estimate.
Yeah, it's
so
an estimate. I mean,
could be 3.
Please
Okay.
note that we will have help locations on site at Town Center
yes.
starting at 8 a.m. And so you can walk up to, I can't remember what conference room it is, but we'll be sending that out.
Yep.
136 actually, over near Chris's office. So you can walk up to that and get information, get some help. You can also always call the service desk. All of that's available to you.
Okay. So the question was about pop-ups and other locations providing support. Is there a provision for planning parking costs, handling parking costs for the volunteers?
Yes, we're
Yes.
working through some solutions to that involving Lyft and other carpooling solutions and using the company vehicles and all sorts of stuff. So we will have more information for you at the 10:14 all hands. And I should mention there's another walk-up help desk that's going to be in the Princess Leia conference room as well.
Okay. And for the non-IS customer, will the hsemail.ucsd.edu desktop shortcut still?
The HS email will work for everyone that's on O365 once they've migrated to O365.
Okay. All right. There's some questions about how the support schedule will integrate with the Epic update. As the Epic.
We believe that the
update will
Epic
go out.
update, which goes on the 12th, I believe, Friday.
Over weekend.
Yep, exactly. We always do it on a Friday. We believe that that will be complete and out of the way before we do the cloud email. In fact, that is why cloud email is scheduled for the week of the 21st, because we wanted to be past the update. And the updates at this point, we've had a few of those under our belts. We feel really confident that that's going to be successful and certainly out of the way before cloud email happens.
All right. Will Community Connect affiliate users with AD accounts receive the updated email addresses as well?
I'm assuming if they're, I guess let me answer the question this way. If they're using our email and if they're using our email today, then they would be. Is that a fair way to say it? Otherwise, no. And one thing to just reiterate, the Active Directory credentials to log into the network are not changing. This is only for cloud email, the hsemail.ucsd.edu.
Okay. There's a specific question, someone who is a campus employee in BFS working on UC Path with the Health IS UC Path team, asking, will I now have an @ucsd.edu email and an @health.ucsd.edu email address?
Possibly.
Well, when they say,
Yeah.
they'll have it, as stated earlier, right, they can still use an @ucsd.edu. They will log in with a health.ucsd.edu for their O365.
Yeah.
So when they're asking about the @health or @ucsd, as stated earlier, people can still send emails to either one. So in a sense, they'll have both for email accounts, but they'll log in with health.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah, I think I probably would want to understand, maybe we should do some follow-up on that, what the sort of workflow use case would be, because I think,
Well, this isn't a the UC Path, this doesn't have an impact on UC Path or anything, so I'm not really sure what
Yeah.
But maybe we need more detail on what this
Maybe we'll
specific
follow up.
question is, yeah.
Okay. All right, another question. Will send receive rules carry over?
rules, let me verify that. I think so, but I need to verify. So I just got a text that says yes. So we'll see. Yes, they will.
Okay. Okay, great.
Well, let's do some follow-up on that. So I think we want to test that.
Okay. And there's some questions about communication. What communication is being sent to end users to inform them that will be on site supporting the email and may not be available to support the clinical or EMR issues and requests?
So John and others have been doing road shows with tons of groups, and that will continue. The in-person verbal communication we think is very important, especially since you can have interactive feedback. We will also be putting out flyers in break rooms and that sort of thing, which will point people to the website. In addition, we have mass emails going out, but then targeted emails for departments and users and department heads that can cascade down will be happening along the way, especially directly prior to migration. It's been really made clear by Chris and John and others to the executive leadership that this is our most important project right now and that we want to get it right. And they too know that. They really want us to get this right. And so I believe that if we had to say, we're in the middle of a huge rollout right now, and we will give you information about when we can get back to you about this particular request. I think that the organization has been primed to understand that this is the focus for right now.
Right.
Anything you want to add?
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly right. There's a number of communication venues. We're going to be sending out a lot more email communications. There will be lots of that, but we don't want to just leave it to email communication. So there have been a few of us that have been reaching out to different committees and work groups and presenting this very presentation to those. So flyers will be going out. We're going to try to do as many creative ways of socializing this as possible. Obviously, I think you saw earlier, we've got locations on both Blink and Pulse about this. So, you know, if you're in venues where people are looking for more information, feel free to mention that.
Yeah, in fact, if you're meeting with some of your constituents out there in the next 3 weeks, please go ahead, throw one of these slides into your presentation, let them know. That's something personally I've already started doing with folks that I work with, my business partners all the time, just saying, hey, cloud email's coming up, here's the website, you might want to check it out, and just give them some information. And what that really does, not only is it allay fears, but it also gives them a face and somebody that they personally know that they could reach out to, which we need, because we want to help the help desk and help the field techs triage some of those basic questions.
Yep. This is definitely one where we can't over communicate. There's, you know, these projects are more successful the more communication that goes out, and the more different ways we can communicate, the better.
All right. Another clarifying question about the all hands meeting on October 14th. Somebody stated that due to the Epic upgrade, a lot of people may not be able to attend the meeting, and they wanted to confirm that they have access to the materials and slides from that.
Absolutely. We'll record that so that you can see it later. We will have all the information available to you where you can grab that. The t-shirts, there'll be ways for you to pick those up as well. There'll be ample opportunities for you to understand what you need to do when you're supporting the Go Live.
All right, there is a question about the iPhone or mobile device. Instead of using the native iPhone email for UCSD, it sounds like it was recommended that we use the MS Outlook app. So is there a link to that app on the Cloud Email page?
It's actually,
Yeah,
The
we
QR code is there.
on the tip sheet, I think we have the QR code right there on the tip sheet that will
Right.
take you right there to the app.
Yep.
And again, this is Mark speaking. I'll be honest, I haven't used the Outlook app itself until about a week and a half or so ago, and I love it. I think it's actually a great app. I've been using the native, so I think people who have been using the native app will find the Outlook app is much improved. So
Yes, I've heard similar
Yeah.
experiences.
it's good. But there will be a QR code on the tip sheet that you'll have in a short period of time here.
Both for Apple and Android. so
Yep,
we can put both.
correct. Thank you.
Okay. There was some follow-up regarding the Zoom question from earlier. They were specifically asking about the web version of Outlook and whether the web version would support the Zoom plugin.
That I'm going to say yes, but we'll go back and double check. That's a great question. That's a really good question. We have to go back and take a look at that.
Okay, and one more question regarding the VPN. It was mentioned that on the migration day, if we're working from home, we need to be on VPN. Is that from now on or just tomorrow during the migration process?
just during the migration.
Just to run the migration tool and start the sync, right?
Yes.
And if you don't want to, you could always migrate the next day, right?
Yeah,
And
you
just
can
use the
web
OWA.
version. Yeah.
Yeah, OWA is always available once anyone, this goes for anybody, once they are migrated, OWA gives you access to all of your email, all your calendaring. There will be a tip sheet, I may be posted up there already, I believe it is, that has the comparison between OWA and the full client, and I've looked at it, and I think you'll see that 95% of the functionality is the same.
In fact, what's to note is that OWA is the thing that's actually changing, and it's much better.
Right.
So that's the benefit of this particular project.
I think that's all the questions we have.
Oh, this is great.
Good.
There's a few we will
Yeah, we got
add
some
to our
follow-up.
FAQ page for sure. This is fantastic.
Yeah, some great
guys.
questions. I'm glad you guys are all engaged. That's awesome. That's what we want to hear. We'll follow up on the questions that we didn't have answers for. And as we do the migration, and tomorrow, if you have any additional questions or anybody runs into any troubles, please get that to us, even if you solve it yourself, because we want to make sure our frequently asked questions are up to date. Because if we run into it, chances are someone else is going to run into it. So please keep that keep that information flowing, and thank you all for being flexible. It's really, really great.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you
Have a
so
great day.
much.